In an apocalyptic situation, social norms break down as fast, if not faster, than the government's ability to project internal force and maintain law and order. In such a situation, you will still find yourself needing the goods and services of others, and you will really only have two options: trade for them, which is just another way of saying buy them, or take them by force. Force is not just immoral, but a horribly dangerous option, so whenever you have the chance, you should engage in voluntary trade. But we live in a world where our currency is fiat and heavily inflated, so it is highly unlikely that it would hold any value in an apocalyptic situation. So what would be a good form of money in an apocalypse? Well, it certainly won't be bottle caps or something useless like in apocalyptic computer games. Those are nothing more than fiat currency, or money that's money simply because someone decided it was money. It takes powerful government or completely reliable mass communication and agreement to run a fiat currency. Many people think fiat currency, like the dollar, is somehow different than digital assets like Bitcoin and other crypto. But crypto is backed by nothing and has no use other than as a means of exchange or a storeholder of value. That makes it a fiat currency. But unlike the dollar, crypto is a fiat currency by the voluntary consent of those using it, and Bitcoin has an absolute maximum quantity, which means a political board can't inflate it out of political expediency. The only thing the dollar has going for it is, quote, the full faith and credit of the US government, which really means military force backing it up. But that is toothless when you realize that even today, nobody is going to send the military in if you stop accepting dollars. While crypto and the dollar are both fiat currencies, they are the currency equivalents of the difference between donating to a cause and being taxed to support a cause. Morally, one is better than the other, but the moral superiority of having Bitcoin holdings won't help you in an apocalypse. Bitcoin will only hold value as long as other people want it and believe it will be there down the road, which is another way of saying people believe it will store value. That is why there's the term storeholder of value, because currency itself is only useful if you are willing to give someone what they want in exchange for that currency, and you will only accept that currency if you believe it will hold its value and allow you to pay someone else with it to get what you need at a later date. While you may be a Bitcoin absolutist, most people are not. They won't see the value of holding your Bitcoin when SHTF. Likewise, when people see the impotence of the federal government and realize there is nothing tangible behind the dollar, it will also become a poor medium of exchange. If you truly believe in Bitcoin, an apocalypse would be the ultimate buying opportunity, as millions of people would be willing to trade it for the meagerest of supplies. But that is a personal risk because it is exactly the same for the dollar, and nobody believes the dollar will come out of the apocalypse with value. The long and short of the situation is this: the dollar is not just held up by the US government or the day-to-day use of the American public. It is held up by the mass foreign reserves of dollars as the currency of exchange and fallback. While they printed 2/3 of the entire dollar supply during the pandemic, we didn't see 200% inflation like we should have, because the value of your fiat currency is economic activity divided by the number of dollars you have in circulation. So if you print 200% of the dollars you have in circulation, your money should be worth 1/3 of its previous value. But that's not what happened. What happened is other countries inflated their currency far worse, so needed far more dollars to serve as reserve and exchange currency to prop up their own economies and economic power. The dollar remains strong only because the populations of multiple countries are banking on it, not just the 332 million in the US. Even now, this foundation is being eroded as countries that formerly had no problem relying on the dollar, like Saudi Arabia, China, Brazil, and Russia, try to form their own currency blocks. If too many people get on board with these efforts, too many dollars will flood back into the US economy, which would weaken the dollar, which would make it less attractive for other countries to continue holding dollars as reserve. If too many people get on board with these efforts, too many dollars will flood back into the US economy, which would weaken the dollar, which would make it less attractive for other countries to continue holding dollars as a reserve, resulting in a cascading effect of repatriated dollars. At that point, we would experience the entire 200% inflation from recent printing instead of the 30% we have experienced. We would be flooded by the inflation from the past 30 years at a bare minimum. This would be all at once, and would itself be an apocalyptic situation as the dollar became instantly worthless. I personally think people in power are trying to do this, but I've covered that in another video on CBDC that you can find here. So we have established that the dollar and crypto probably aren't good options for exchange in an apocalypse. So you probably assume the next thing I'm going to say is gold, silver, or bullets. Well, no, not really. At least, not how you are thinking. Bullets only have a limited utility in certain scenarios depending on other people having the right weapon. Their value is highly dependent on the individual selling and the individual buying, and can easily cause an already tense situation to go out of control because of disagreements over valuation. Even if the utility of the rounds are the same to both people, their value could vary wildly depending on how long the situation has been going and what resources other people in the area have. All your money is in bullets, but someone successfully gets an ammo industry rolling, you will suddenly find yourself impoverished. While I personally love gold and silver, and my inner pirate wants a treasure chest filled with precious metal, they have their own downside. There is no intrinsic utility for these metals in an apocalypse. Now keep in mind that I didn't say there is no intrinsic value in silver. There are many industrial processes that require it, but they won't be operating during the apocalypse. You won't be using silver to skin a deer, defend your family, or keep your home warm. What it is the last storeholder of value to fall as society breaks down, and the first to return when things start to calm down. A good way to determine how stable a storeholder of value is would be to look at how long it has been valuable. If Abraham valued it, there is a good chance it will be valuable in a post-apocalyptic situation. So in that respect, food, animals, land, and precious metals are always a safe bet. The problem with an apocalyptic situation is that money, in any form, is simply a word for a medium of exchange and storeholder of value. Apocalyptic situations are the definition of uncertainty, and money relies on people's belief that it will be useful down the road, which is the definition of certainty. Essentially, money in the apocalypse is like the term jumbo shrimp. The two concepts are oxymorons. Any currency you choose during an apocalypse will be fraught with risk, so the only answer is the same that investors use when they are trying to insulate themselves from risk. They diversify. Mentally fall back on Abraham. Don't just have one of the fundamental valuable things, have as many of them as you can. Don't put all your chips on gold. You should also have food, and livestock, and weapons. Sure, the apocalypse may turn out to be one where weapons are the most valuable, or one that is short-lived and silver and gold are the best bet, but you cannot know for certain which apocalyptic scenario is most likely or how any of them will turn out in the end. So, just like you should diversify your preps and make sure as many of them as possible will work, no matter the situation, you should also diversify your assets and value retention before something horrible happens. Unlike investing in the stock market, if you gamble wrong and are left with nothing, the results are far more dangerous in the apocalypse. Diversify, and who knows, you could turn out to be the rich man of the new world. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe.